So how many of you are to learn about CMMC, and how many of you have actually started their journey? Kind of where you guys are. Any show of hands? Kind of, yeah? Know about CMC? Yeah? Wow, awesome.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, and how many of you are here just because your contracting officer told you, or some contract clause said you have to be here? Good. Great. All right, well, go ahead.
Yeah, so for the next 40 minutes, I tend to ramble a lot, and I'm very passionate about the subject, so I brought Ashley with me so she can keep me straight. And yeah, so we're gonna try to break some fundamentals. I think some of them will be repeat. Joy did a great job. Mike did a great job. Actually, we've been on this journey for some time. I won't pitch anything on CurityBricks right now because lunch is on us, and you'll get to see us again. You'll get to see me again this afternoon. I'm filling in for Microsoft, so I'm going to try to keep this as high level as possible, but happy to answer questions. So.
Okay. So before we jump into why CMMC exists, I'm going to stand on a soapbox here really quickly. So CMMC is not just a compliance checklist. It's not something you're going to do once a year, call it good. You're not going to buy it in a box. You're not going to be done in 3 days, like Joy said. It's not a tax to do business with the DoD or added bureaucracy or new acronyms for fun. It's really the cost to work with the DoD. So they've said that it's security at the end of the day. If you want to work with the DoD or DOW, they need to know that you can protect the information that they're sharing with you. So it's essentially, CMMC is the barrier to entry to do this sort of work. And it's also a strategic investment, right? So think of it like a credential or a professional certification, obviously. So, it's going to prove you're capable, responsible, ready to handle this level of work. And it's going to signal credibility. So we want to kind of walk into really quickly why CMMC exists. We think personally that if you understand the why, the how starts to make a little bit more sense. We've already heard a lot of it about the history earlier this morning from Joy. I love the story about the F-35, or hate it at the same time. But Raj here is going to talk a little bit about the history of it. But before we jump in really quick, I just want to really quick overview. We've already touched FCI, CUI differences. Just again, the more you hear it, the easier it becomes to remember. So I'm going to say it one more time really quickly. So FCI, just general business information. It's basically just your contract, right? It's not classified, but it's also not meant for the public. Same with CUI, much more sensitive. Kind of material that, if compromised, it's very valuable to our adversaries. Again, not classified, but also not meant for public release. These are the two types of sensitive information. When we say sensitive information, that CMMC is specifically protecting. And these are what the controls are that you're going to put into place to protect these two pieces of information. Okay, now Raj on some history.
No, I think everybody gave history, F-35, China stealing things, and every day. So I think everybody knows. But there's one thing I do. I spend a lot of time every day not selling but just actually educating people. And I have to say this is a great panel here because we go across, for me it's local, so I live across the other side of the water, so it's nice. We go around talking to people and everybody has the same questions. So we heard about CMMC, is it really for real? Is it another one that's probably going to get cut in 1 in the 10 rules that we probably had with the Doge and etc.? I think one thing I like was that, I have to say, shout out to a lot of people. Katie Arrington Group, impossible. I've been in, just like someone said, in payment compliance, financial compliance. It's all about protecting something like money or someone's personal information. But having a shared mission to protect a national security is huge. We'll go a little bit about how CurityBricks, how we came to doing this CMMC one, but I think it's huge. The reason is this is not classified. This is not something that people know that you have to do it in a SCIF. This is something that's out there in common world. It can be in a printer, it could be in a tablet, it doesn't have to be in digital. So the idea here is protecting this kind of information is huge. And I think I have to give a shout out to CyberAB, Matt Travis and guys, and people like Summit 7 who have taken initial pioneers, people like Kyle Lai who's sitting here. these people have done a lot of good work, and I learn a lot every day from people. And this is not just technology, right? CMMC is about protecting something that's not just all digital. So I think, when it turns out, end of the day, we're here, we get money from the government to do things. It's nice for us to be able to protect what we get. There's a trust we earn. I think being in cybersecurity space for decades, people always say, it's a cost. I say, no, it's not a cost. It's an investment. It's earning trust. So if I'm going to give you something of mine, I hope you protect it. So the government gives you, why can't you do the same? So I think it's kind of, I see, the history to be that way, and different people have different, mindset. But I think it's all about not just what I get from the DoD or the DOW, but then how am I going to ensure that my supply chain is protecting to the same level.
Can I give my story?
Yeah, please.
Okay. I'd like to say my history of CMMC is that, CMMC obviously isn't new with NIST 800-171. You may or may not know this, but the whole idea was, previously with NIST 800-171 is you were supposed to self-attest to all of these controls. Turns out people weren't doing it, and that's why they created CMMC. It's essentially to grade your work. Make sure that you're actually doing the thing, which is unfortunately where we're at now, is because people just weren't doing it. Now we have to make sure you're doing it, and this is how. But the way that the reason we think this is super important is that our adversaries noticed that we weren't doing it, we weren't implementing these controls, so they realized they don't even have to go to the Pentagon to get sensitive information. They can just go straight to you guys with the back door wide open, which is why it's so important that we do implement these controls properly and we understand how to do that. So we want to just quickly kind of run through what we think some of the fundamentals are, and hopefully kind of clear up some of the noise out there. Okay. There's CMMC players.
See that?
Oh, that isn't. Oh, wow, you can't see that. Great. Those were acronyms. That's weird. Why is it inverted? Okay. Well, it's really okay. I'll just go through really quickly. It really helps to see it. What a bummer.
Can we pull up the actual slide? I apologize, everyone. In the same folder, day one.
Oh, somebody's moving it. Whoa.
Oh. I think Mike went through most of these acronyms, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing new, but the slide is lame if you can.
So lunch is Mexican, so I had to say. So just stay for lunch. I have no idea what we need is.
Okay, here Oh, you got it. Okay, I'll do it. Okay. There, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna run through these really quick. Okay, so OSCs, probably some of you guys here, organization seeking assessment. You also might have seen OSA, organization seeking, that was backwards, certification assessment, you got it. RPOs, registered practitioner organization, and RPs are those that work for them, registered practitioners. These are people that are gonna help you with your readiness. Very basic fundamentals, but they'll help you with readiness, do gap assessments, things like that. Your C3PAO is somebody like us. We've got a couple others here in the house. Those are the ones that are actually going to do your assessments and certify you. CCPs and CCAs typically work for a C3PAO, but sometimes they work for themselves. A CCP, a certified CMMC professional, those are the folks, they are going to have a little bit of cyber background and knowledge, but they're going to go through basically the level 1 controls, those 15 controls, and have a basic understanding of CMMC. But from what I hear, that the CCA course is actually getting more robust, and they're able to actually sit on assessments now and assist, but they are not going to be the ones doing your assessment. Then you have CCAs, your certified CMMC assessor. Those are the ones that are actually going to do your assessments. And then there's the other layer, you're going to have a lead CCA. The only major difference between a lead CCA and a CCA is essentially they have another layer of certification. So a lot of them are going to be like CISAs, CISSPs, so they're going to have pretty strong cyber knowledge, IT knowledge, and they're going to be the ones that are making the final determination on your assessment. And then we have MSPs, your managed service provider. So they're going to manage systems, endpoints, networks, things of that nature. Then you're going to have an MSSP. This is more of a specialized version of your MSP, focused on cybersecurity operations like monitoring, threat protection, incident response, things of that nature. And then cloud service providers, or CSP. That's pretty straightforward, but they must be FedRAMP authorized or equivalent in order to be your CSP in your CMMC cloud environment.
Thanks, Ashley.
You're welcome.
Wow, that's quite a bit of C's, right?
Yeah.
It's quite a few things. But I want to go back to basic. A lot of people ask me, in fact, today morning, someone asked me, do I even need to have CMMC? Do I need to even do this, right? The first question is, do you handle CUI? They go, well, do I? Nothing's marked. I get a contract, I'm not sure, but I have a deforce clause that says I have to protect it. So the question is, if you are providing, we had a company call us up and say, I provide furniture, and I'm not talking cots, but I provide furniture to the Army, should I be CMMC compliant? No, it's okay. Because there's nothing secret about CUI and making a bed, so you're fine. But the idea is, or we had another one that said, I provide software that's installed, I sell it as a off-the-shelf software. No, you don't. But the question is, first, do you have CUI? Do you generate CUI? I think that's the important question, right? So I think that's the main thing, which is, do I need to have, does my contract have? And sometimes it is confusing because the prime may tell you you need to have this clause, and they go, well, I don't get it. Well, you may get it, so it's better to have it. So all these conversations about, I would say start and ask the question, do I have CUI? Do you think I will have CUI? Am I going to bid on an RFP that may have CUI? And then start to plan your journey. So I think that's important. I wouldn't just jump in and say everybody needs to, but I think it is good to at least make one cautionary tale.
Yeah, and then on the COTS item, the commercial off the shelf, so if you're providing the same product or service that you would sell to just the public, a product that you sell, like this furniture company with Israel, we actually had a furniture company come and talk to us. I sell a specific couch that I sell to everybody else online on Amazon, and then now the DoD also wants to buy this exact same couch. That's commercial off the shelf, but the DoD wants like a super special couch that can have some sort of radio frequency in it that's going to process. That's obviously going to not be COTS, but if you sell it to the public and it's the same thing you're going to sell to the DoD, then it's not applicable. Okay, so the levels, I'll go through these really quickly. So level 1, foundational, it's the 15 practices. So this one's only going to be for the FAR, 52, 204, 21, and only if you're handling FCI. So basically, again, this barrier to entry, if you're working with the DoD and you have a contract, you're going to need to be level 1. This is basic cyber hygiene. It should be pretty simple to go through, but at the very least, we always recommend that somebody have a readiness partner that has a strong understanding of CMMC. But then level 2 is when this gets a little bit deeper. This is where you're touching CUI. There's 2 layers to level 2. So you can go self-assessment, or you have to go your C3PAO and get your third-party assessment. There's a very small percentage of people that will maintain that self-assessment level, like 5%. Almost everybody that's touching CUI is going to need level 2 by a C3PAO, which I know is kind of confusing with the DFARS coming out and how level 2 self-assessments right now are going to be what's required. Yes, everybody is going to, but then there's going to be 95% of the people that just did their self-assessments to be compliant with 48 are also going to need to go even further and get that third-party assessment. But this does require annual affirmation. All of these require annual affirmations. And I also wanted to mention, so level 1, when you submit your self-assessment into SPRS, you have to pass 100%. You don't get POAMs at level 1. You have to meet all of those controls 100%. Level 2 is 88. You have to get 88 out of 110. You cannot fail any 3 or 5 weighted controls. You can only fail level 1 control or 1 point controls. And I always think that's kind of important. Okay, and then level 3 is the prerequisite to level 3. You need to get level 2 C3PAO, and then DIBCAC is going to come in and do the remainder of your 24 controls from NIST 800-172. And then this is also annual affirmation, and only really a very small subset of people handling some super critical, really cool projects. It would be really awesome if it was one of you. Come talk to us. Okay. Next.
Phase 1? No? Clauses. You want to talk about clauses?
Just you.
Okay. So I get to talk about clauses. This is interesting.
No, where we are today.
Oh, where we are today.
This one. Left slide.
Okay. Sorry, guys. My pages and the slides don't go together. So where we are today, I think Mike mentioned today, where we are starting level 1. Will someone asked me a question last week. Will the shutdowns delay the November 10th? And the answer I was heard is no. It's still going to go November 10th. So the CFR 48 comes out, level 1, level 2, level 3. They're going to be there where people are going to have to go enter, as Ashley mentioned, in phases. They start with level 2 self-assessment. I think Mike mentioned a great point, which I actually learned today, Mike. I did not know that 6,000 assessments, the math we ran is 88,000 or 86,000 times how many assessments. So it's good. I learned today that some people can still live on self-assessments for a long time unless the officer, I just want to confirm, because that's what I heard, so I want to confirm that if the contracting officer is okay with it, they can live on the self-assessment as long, but if the contracting officer asks you to go to EMAS and make sure they see a score from a C3PO, they have to go. Is that right?
Correct. So people
Okay.
will stay on self-assessments the whole contract.
Okay, that's good. See, that's great. That's
Yeah,
something
that's a
I
question
learned
we get a
today.
lot,
Yeah,
yeah.
we get a lot of that questions. Also, we get a questions like, we are a C3PO. We have already done many audits and we have a long line. People go, what's your lead time? Well, what do you want it to be? What do you mean? Well, a lot of people will sign up that they're delayed because, they have something goes wrong and they say, I'll do it next month, 2 months. So there's always that. But we always tell people, if you can, while waiting for a C3PO, go get a self-assessment done. And then stay in line, whatever you want to, because they can just validate what you already said. But if you're doing a self-assessment, just make sure, like I think everybody in the room said, attest that it is right. Don't just say I am 110. Well, someone's going to get you once the C3PO finds out. So it's a good win to do that, and then phase 2 comes later. Next year, so it's all November. It's all a nice anniversary date of number 10. So and then 2028 comes when it's going to go. But one thing which I've heard from a lot of primes, because we do work with a lot of people, and we're actually doing a couple of level 3s now to see if we can put them up. It all depends on that RFP, on the contracting officer, and this is completely up to them. There is no governance, no cyber AV or as none of us can say you don't need to. It's really dependent, because I've seen RFPs go out saying that when are you going to be ready, or when do you think you'll achieve. So it doesn't matter. So it's up to the contracting officer and what. Now, some questions people have asked is, can I go retro? Meaning that I already have a contract. Will they come back and ask me to be CMMC? And it's up to the officer. Maybe they'll do it when there's an event like a recompete or renewal. I don't think they're going to go back and ask. But again, it's up to the officer. Some of them have said there's an RFP that just came or just closed, but it won't be awarded till January. Will I have to go? And again, these are subject, but I think after November 10th, a lot of clarity will come, and a lot of people are going to ask those questions. So I would just keep ears to the ground and just say, you know what, let me be prepared, or at least have a game plan. So,
We only have a
few minutes?
Yeah, 10
Okay.
minutes. So I'm gonna burn through these really quick. So the GFARS clauses all start with 252204. So we always recognize them by the last 4 digits. So you guys may have seen already 7012, 7019, and 7020 already existed. 7021 is this really big one. So this is going to be the new one that's actually going to require CMMC in your contracts that you'll see on November 10th. That's all I'm going to say on the slide. We want to spend a minute here on the roles and responsibilities.
Yeah.
Raj is going to talk a little bit about how it looks like in your organization.
Yeah, so I'm gonna roll two things into one, and then I'll let Ashley finish up. But every day when I talk to people, they ask me, I want to do CMC. I need to talk to my owner of the business or my CEO and ask them, I'd like to know what the journey looks like. What is it that's going? What are the different things? How do I prepare? How do I get accredited? That's it involves right from leadership. It's not an IT problem. Not everything is IT. So it's like somebody has to sponsor. It's the federal contract officer who knows those contract clauses that they require. It's the leadership who needs to sponsor it. It's the business unit maybe, and then there is the IT involvement. There's so many people. This is an entire ecosystem. That includes employees too. I have people who say we want to train our employees how to handle CUI. So everybody, this is a shared mission. This is not just, an IT problem or a contracting legal problem. This is kind of the whole thing. The other thing I will leave it here and then I'll have Ashley finish up is the total cost of ownership. I spend a lot of time talking about people. This is not one and done. So you start your journey, you spend your money, get your accreditation for next 3 years, put yourself in EMAS. You still have to make sure every year you self-regulate as well as you make sure every day that you're compliant. This is continuous compliance. So I look at people and say, take your TCO. Don't assume I'm just going to spend this and then I'm done. So this requires, because every time a contract changes, a new RFP comes, a contracting also asks for something, you gotta have to make sure. So unfortunately, this is something we gotta live and breathe every day, and this is not like a point in time compliance like other ones. So
It's top down. So leadership must own, particularly because a lot of the companies that we talk to, it'll be an IT admin of some sort, and they really just seem like they've been dumped. CMMC, they're like, here, go read these 350 pages, and then they come to us very confused. CMMC is really, it touches a lot of parts of an organization, and we think that the most successful teams are going to be the ones that make it about the organization as a whole, and that you touch it across the whole, all departments, essentially, just at least for awareness sake. And that leadership owns it because they're the ones that are really going to be able to put all of the teams and connect the dots. Okay, so how you can prepare. So Raj, you have some points about what to include in a boundary.
yeah. Okay. Oh yes. I was going to do that in my own clip, but that's okay. So if you're going to start to prepare, I think the first thing we all ask is, and in fact CyberAP says that all the time, start with your CUI boundary. Where does my CUI live? So we have done people who have, in fact up here, aircraft manufacturing, parts distributor, they have CUI all over the manufacturing floor. We've got people who service F-35s, they've got it in their tablets that go into it. We've got people who go into submarines and do wiring for them. So there's CUI everywhere, right? We've got construction companies. So the question is, what's your boundary look like? The boundary is everything that you control, right? It's your laptops, your machines, your IoT devices, your paper, your printers, everything you own. Now, if it's in your facility, if you're managing it, it's not just in the cloud or it's in a data center, all that is considered to be a CUI boundary. So all those have to meet those level 2 controls. So it doesn't matter, which part of it requires. So the whole thing is a boundary. So the first thing I would say is determine the CUI boundary. Because a lot of times even when we go for assessments, that's the first thing we ask, what's your boundary? And when you say this is my boundary, the expectation is that you're attesting that everything you know in your company is of CUI is within that boundary. That's number one. So if you can do that, I think that's the first step. Then after that, you start to apply controls. If it's a physical, you apply physical controls. If it's cloud, you do different controls. If it's a data center, you do different controls. So I think that's then the next step. Determine a boundary, have your controls, document it, because at the end of the day, what a C3PO is going to look for in their documents, and Kyle and others will tell you, is they look and say, show me that you met the intent of the 320 objectives of the 110 controls. That's what all us as C3POs look for. If you have met those, that's great. But that includes what your MSSPs, ESPs, managed service providers, tools you buy, purchase, doesn't matter. All that has to be in that package. So I think that's important. This is a nice story. I start with the boundary, and if someone mentioned about PCI, or I think if there's a person here talk about financial compliance. So in the PCI, there used to be this called scope. So you determine your scope, put your controls in, document that you have done it, get it validated. So it's a whole ecosystem that goes. So.
And I think more importantly, or all equally as important when you're scoping, is what's not in scope.
Yes, please.
Raj is going to talk a little bit later on enclaves, but it is, if it's something that you guys can do and manage, we recommend enclaves just because it really helps kind of isolate. It's a little bit easier to maintain. It's a little bit. Some people, I think it's a little bit daunting for small teams to have to manage 2 emails, but what it looks like on the other end of that is even worse. So it is something that we advocate for. Raj will talk about it later this afternoon.
Yeah. Don't put your entire company in CMMC.
Yes.
Now work for sure.
Messy.
And second is the best thing I use when I'm in the firewall rules 101, deny all permits down. Let people only who touch CUI come into that boundary. Other than that, keep them away. Because the more people are away, the easier the compliance. Because I said it's not just achieving compliance, but maintaining compliance. It's a lot of effort to maintain 1,000 laptops than easier to maintain 100 laptops. So I would just say that's very key here.
Okay, I'm gonna just jump to the next slide. Just a few more minutes left. I always feel like this is the biggest question that nobody asks: is how do I actually know that I'm ready? So I just wanted to spend a couple minutes on this. So what we like to recommend is to go through a mock assessment. But essentially, you're all probably, if you're doing level 2, you're going to end up going through a self-assessment. In this case, it's sort of the same thing. You're going to go through all 320 objectives, not just your 110. You need to go through every single one, just like an assessor would. And you're going to find and collect all of the evidence that you think that question is asking you. And then I like to recommend documenting how and where you found that information. So like leave yourself little breadcrumbs. How did I find this? Why did I find it? If it's not for you, then at least for other people in your organization that might come behind you. And then a little info on the scoring. So it starts at 110 and it's going to work backwards. So there's weight. Each control is going to have a weight, 3, 5, 1. And essentially your highest score is obviously 110, but you can also go negative to 203. So calculate that score, just see where you're at. It's for yourself. It's a good exercise to do. You're going to document your deficiencies along the way, of course. But then lastly, and most importantly, we think absolutely have it validated by somebody else. We have never talked to a single OSC that got it right. They always miss the mark, and significantly. So you really need a partner that knows what they're doing, knows what they're talking about, to come in and just validate it. Don't just jump right into it and think that you're ready without talking to somebody first.
Yeah. I just want to say that one thing I learned in this, because we also do FedRAMP 3PO. When you do a FedRAMP audit, there's a FedRAMP PMO, which is a Program Management Office, that actually will oversee whatever the 3PO has done and all. So they almost like kind of validate. C3PO is a little different because C3POs, they are it. If they say they have passed, they have to stand behind it. So a lot of people say, oh my God, this is such a long audit, or why are you so detailed? That's because when a C3PO puts and says you're passed, you have to stand behind, and that's a lot of work. So as Mike knows, there's few CCAs, everybody comes from a different background. So C3POs are all trained the same way, but I can tell you all of them pretty much will make sure that they're very thorough, and if they say yes, they have to stand behind. So just make sure everything is in order and you'll pass.
Hopefully.
No.
Okay, so last note, basically, if you guys have any questions, we're back there in the corner. Happy to help in any way. We are actually a local. I'm up in Marysville, Raj is in Bellevue, and happy to have conversations with anybody about anything really. But we also have some free resources. So you're going to hear free resources a lot. I've collected quite a bit of them along my journey in learning about CMMC, and I want to share them with you. So stop by the booth. It's electronic, so I do need your email, and I'll send you all of the resources that I have.
Yeah, one other thing is I do this a lot. If you guys want to talk to other contractors, as long as they don't compete, I'm happy to introduce. Everybody in this ecosystem is learning from each other. I learn every day from some people, and all the people I talk to, I tell them, are you open to speaking? As long as they don't compete, we are okay to help, because we may not know something and they may have come across something. So it's very good to know, especially when it comes to things like cage codes, joint ventures, acquisitions. There's so many variations, because as you guys know, when you go through this assessment, it's the cage code that's associated with the contract that's going to be in EMAS that the people are going to look for. So you got to make sure those equations are good, especially your multiple cage codes, parent-daughter cage codes, protege-mentor. I've learned all these terms in this. But it's good, and there are people who are smarter than me and much more educated. They live this, but they're able to say, even when you go to a C3PO, this is what we want you to assess. So this is pretty good. So if you need help connecting, I'm happy to do it. So
Thank you.